Why would God make people gay in the first place?
Well, of course I would say it comes from God. If I didn't believe that, then I wouldn't be Christian.
Why?
Let me start off by saying that I'm a big fan of Matt Walsh's work. But had I been in this position, I would have answered the question a little differently. Now, Matt Walsh got caught off guard, make no mistake about it. But let's address this video and let's answer this properly.
God make people gay in the first place?
Well, of course I would say it comes from God. If I didn't believe that, then I wouldn't be Christian.
Why would God make people gay
Well,
if he didn't want them to engage in gay sex?
So Matt Walsh falls prey to Joe Rogan's presuppositions. God is not the author of evil, therefore gays couldn't have possibly come from God. James chapter 1 verse 13 and 14 say, "Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire."
Be Christian.
Why would God make people gay
Well,
if he didn't want them to engage in gay sex?
all people have proclivities or towards different sins, different things that we would call sins.
Yeah, but if that's like their fundamental attractiveness, they're attracted fundamentally to other men, like, or other women. Like, why? It seems like something that God gave them. Like, why would God give you an attractiveness, or why would you be attracted to the same sex?
Notice that Romans chapter 5 verse 12 says, "Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because all sin." It says sin came into the world through one man, not through one God. So people who are gay don't get that from God. Notice what 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 11 says. It says, "We are to keep away from worldly desires that wage war against your very souls." Notice it says worldly desires. It doesn't say desires that come from God. Worldly. So what have we learned so far? The desires are worldly, not godly. And the desires entered the world through one man, not through God.
Like, why would God give you an attractiveness, or why would you be attracted to the same sex if that was morally reprehensible, if that was against God's will? Why would he instill that lust and that desire and that feeling of being attracted and feeling of being in love with someone of the same sex?
I don't think instilled is not the word that I would use. I
What
don't
would
think
you
God
use?
instills it. I think that one of the again you want to get into Christian doctrine. I mean one of the basic elements of Christian doctrine is that we're a fallen species, and so there are many things that come out of our kind of fallen human nature, and we all have, like I said, we all have proclivities towards sin, and no one's going to live a perfect life, To live a moral Christian life is really difficult. Requires a lot of sacrifice, no matter who you are.
And that all sounds very beautiful. But if you believe that it comes from God, and you said that if you didn't believe that it came from God, you wouldn't be a Christian.
Why would God make people gay in the first place?
Well, of course I would say it comes from God. If I didn't believe that, then I wouldn't be Christian.
Why would?
Then that means that Joe Rogan is right in his beliefs. Because if it comes from God, how can you fault God when these men are gay? Because God made them that way. We know the Bible doesn't teach that. We went over some verses. So I understand that Matt Walsh believes man is fallen and that it's tough to be a Christian. But you gave in to Joe Rogan's presupposition. Joe Rogan believes that God made gay people to feel the way that they feel. And that's just not biblical. So if you give that up, if you allow Joe Rogan's presupposition to be the moral standard when it goes against biblical principles that you hold to, what's the point of even arguing any further?
And and that's it. I mean, it's.
Have you
we're
wrestled with these thoughts
we're-
before? Have you had these kind of conversations and really like
Sure, absolutely.
tried to figure out why would God create gay people? Do you think that God has created gay people, or do you think they have a choice?
God has created all people, so every person that's gay was created by God, of course. Where exactly does that proclivity come from? Like I said, I don't know exactly. I mean, to say that someone's born gay, I have issues with that go beyond theology, because now you're talking about, if you're born with any sexual proclivity, then that means that we're talking about like gay infants and so on. And
right, but don't you think people are born straight? That some people are born straight? Were you born straight?
it's an odd way of talking about it. Like to say that a baby is heterosexual. I think babies don't have a sexuality in that sense.
Right,
that's something
but
that
eventually they will develop a sexuality, and a small percentage of them will be homosexual, and that's always been been documented. It's natural.
Yeah,
it's even natural in some animals.
Yeah, well, I mean, we started by talking about laws and what laws are put in place. Now we're talking about Christian teaching.
But don't you think that
Christianity has I don't deny that Christianity has a challenging sexual moral code, but we're also, I'm not suggesting that the Christian sexual morality should be codified into law.
But isn't that what's happening if that's how we define marriage? Because marriage is law. And if marriage shouldn't involve gay people, then you are saying that it's because of Christian fundamentalist ideology.
No, because I think you can talk about the marriage issue without even getting into biblical morality, which is what I was doing. I mean, you brought up the Bible,
right?
I didn't.
Well, I brought about we talked about Christianity, in particular,
right? But that's my point. It's like you introduced that to the conversation,
yes,
because
I wanted to find the reason why you opposed gay people being married.
So Matt Walsh doesn't know where sin comes from. He doesn't know how it entered the world. It's all a mystery to him. It's a good thing the Bible tells us. We went through some passages earlier. And in regard to marriage and all those things, I believe that the biblical standard of marriage is the best one. I wouldn't run from that. Jesus said 1 man, 1 woman. When people don't follow that formula today, we see how many households are broken. Jesus Christ, being the only person that never sinned, gave us that formula. So if he never sinned, I am very comfortable with the formula that he proposed when that formula has been shown to work best. I'll finish off this video by saying this. God is not responsible for any of the sin that has entered the world. He's not responsible at all. Remember that because sin entered the world, we have these evil desires. But the Bible tells us to crucify our flesh and die daily. The Bible also tells us to pick up our cross. So the Bible tells us to fight against these desires, as I read earlier in the book of Peter. We're not to give in to these desires because they're in the world. Much less, we're not to blame God for them. We're to stand up to them and fight against them by crucifying the flesh.
She look cute, this shit. I'ma live for the Lord, yeah, that's a fact. I got my Bible, yeah, I got my God. I'm one of these souls, you chasing these racks. I call you a bro, cause you ain't like that. I'm preaching the gospel, I do it like Matt. Too many souls, no time to relax. Nah, no time to relax, nah. All these demons attack. I don't do this for fashion. Lord, give me this passion. That's all that I'm asking.